this past year with Drake May. It's going to be a different era in Wisconsin football. They hired Chimp Lindsey, kind of a controversial one, hire here. We'll see how he ultimately does. He's fine-ish, but it's just not going to be the same kind of offense that you've seen the last couple of years excel in Chapel Hill. Is there trouble in Chapel Hill for you? Do you think, like, my biggest thing I was thinking about this too is there trouble? What did you make of their 2022 season? And have the heels peaked under Mack Brown, do you think? Because I think they may have.
They haven't even begun to peak. All right. No. I think it's possible. It's hard to say they've peaked because it's like, what's the peak that they've achieved? It doesn't even feel like they were even really good last year. It was like Drake May was just so good. They kept winning games. Like, I mean, a team like this had no business really being in a conference championship. Like, no disrespect, but like that, it was more of an indictment on the ACC not really having a second good team. Like, I mean, they were a solid team, but they're basically just as good as Drake May could carry them. This defense is just absolutely awful. Like, I mean, they were getting shootouts with the Fun Belt to begin the season, so they barely got out of that alive. So I don't know. I mean, it was a successful season in terms of, like, I don't feel like they were good, and they won 9 games. It was like kind of impressive, but I don't know. I feel like I'm obviously not the biggest Mack Brown fan. I don't necessarily know what he does. He's the CEO, quote unquote. Like, I'm not sure what exactly he does during the course of a football game, but it feels like they've kind of underachieved because they feel like they've had a lot of talent in the ACC. Like, they should be one of the better teams, and they were in a conference championship game last year. So, you know, it's hard to say they've peaked, but it feels like they've underachieved. So I don't know. I feel like I've kind of like given up hope that they're actually going to take the next step. But I mean, if they're ever going to do it, it's probably with a guy who might be the best player in college football.
How many times would you guess that they have won at least double-digit games since the year 2000, Matt Green?
Did they win double-digit in 2000? Is that Julius Peppers and Ronald Curry around that time?
Around that time, but no, they went 6-5.
What year did they go to the Peach Bowl? Do you have that handy?
I do not have. That was 93. Oh, in 2001.
2001. Okay,
yeah.
That was the year Julius Peppers.
Did they play Syracuse in that game or Virginia or something?
Well, they would have played an SEC team, right?
Did they Auburn? Maybe it was Auburn.
Oh, I think you might be right about that, but I'll let you look that up. But yeah, North Carolina in the last 20 years, 10 wins.
It was Auburn. Ronald Curry, Auburn. Yes, look at that.
You know, I think that's the game where an Auburn player got this pick jumping out of bounds and threw it back inbounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, caught it out of bounds, threw it back in, and the dude picked it off. Like, one of the tighter plays I've ever seen. I want to say that was that game. I have this vision of Auburn, North Carolina, but that's what my mind remembers from 22 years ago. But looking at North Carolina, the answer to your question, I'm gonna say like 5 times in the last 20 years they've had 10-win seasons.
You're gonna say they've had at least 5 10-win seasons since 2000?
Yeah, how many?
The answer is 1.
1.
And it was Larry Fedora. It was Larry Fedora in 2015.
So that's the year they almost beat Clemson in the ACC championship?
Yes.
It's like a pretty close game? Okay. That's the only one ever, huh?
Since we've been alive, they've done it 4 times. 4 times in 30 years. So when I look at this program, it kind of surprised me. I thought it was a little bit better. But North Carolina has no history of...
And Mack Brown did it 3 times.
Yes.
Back in the 90s. Wow, that's impressive.
I don't know. I would just wonder. I'm like, I don't know if they've already reached the tipping point. I wonder if, look, Drake May's awesome. We'll see what happens this year with Chip Lindsey. But, man, I don't know. I think there's a real chance this program is just already kind of peaked and that they have a step back. Like, Florida State's back. NC State's going to be good. Duke's trending in the right direction. Mike Elko's got that thing humming.
The
Obviously,
demise of Clemson is highly overstated.
yes, they're going to be in. Miami's putting a bunch in. We'll see what they look like. They should be better. I don't know. I just look around the league and I'm like, I don't know when they're like. I think they're going to be in trouble. Virginia Tech's going to be better next year. Louisville, I think, will be better with Jeff Brom.
I don't think peaked is the right word. I think what you're saying is North Carolina missed their window.
That's what I would say. Yes,
that they had their window to kind of, the ACC was down.
It might have been last year.
They were waiting for that. Even Clemson, you could probably include 2021. Like Clemson, that wasn't a typical Clemson team. A second good team out of the ACC could have beaten that team and won the. Well, obviously they didn't win the conference that year, but. Even more so, like that's the year Clemson isn't even good, and Pitt, who is it? Pitt and
Wake Forest.
Pitt and Wake Forest, is that right? Are you sure about that?
Yes.
I'm blanking on that. Pitt and Wake Forest were in the ACC championship. Like that's the year North Carolina's preseason, number 6 or something. Like that that's a pretty big missed opportunity.
They're not really committing to figuring out the defense. Like they were 102nd scoring defense last year, and Gene Chizik, I think, is still the DC. So I don't know. I'm not optimistic about. I'm selling some North Carolina stock in 2023. I don't think they're gonna be. I think they're gonna be fighting for their bowl lives in 2023. Is my guess. Speaking of fighting for
looking through this, they only have one other 9-win season since 2000. So probably 5 or 6 8-win seasons maybe in there. But yeah, Samsonite. I was way off.
Florida Gators. Another one who I think are going to be fighting for their bowl lives in 2023, Matt Green. Are they trending up?
Can I say one more thing before we move on from North Carolina? Yeah. This is the most important thing. The uniforms. Shout out to North Carolina for bringing back those 90s block letters. I'm waiting for that to catch on and that to be a thing everybody does. I'm waiting for Georgia to bring back the Kirby Smart era, Champ Bailey era Georgia football uniforms. But that's all I'll say because I love those North Carolina throwbacks.
Well, he's bringing back all of his roommates, so maybe the block letters come back as well.
Well done.
North Carolina, or for Florida, are they trending up or down? Like outside of the off the field stuff, what happened with Jaden Rashada on the field? Like this team struggled to make a bowl game. They were really just all over the place this past year. It wasn't all that inspiring of a year one. Obviously, Billy Napier has invested a lot in recruiting. They finished with a top 10 class. But you can walk into a top 10 class at the University of Florida. It's just there's a lot of recruits there. A lot of kids are looking for an excuse to go to Florida. Like it should always be. There should never be a season where Florida does not finish.